We are in Parashat Bo, and this week we can say that we are starting the Torah. And why is that? Because if you read in Sefer Bereshit, the beginning of the Torah, then Rashi says that the Torah should have started from the mitzvah that is called the Chodesh Hazeh Lachem, the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh. And this is the parasha, in this week's parasha, this is when we are commanded to sanctify the month. So technically, one can say that this week we literally starting the Torah. Up until now was just a preparation, and now we can finally say, okay, we're starting the Torah. And like I said, this you can find when the world was created in Sefer Bereshit. Then in one of the verses, Rashi, a commentator, says, no, the Torah should have started when Hashem commanded us to sanctify the month. And why? Because this is the first mitzvah that we were commanded to. So of course there's different questions. What do I mean the first mitzvah? I mean in Sefer Bereshit we also got a few mitzvot. We got circumcision and we got Gid Nasha, the tendon, and there's other mitzvot. But nevertheless, in the entire Chumash of Bereshit, plus a quarter of the Chumash of Shmot, is just a preparation really. And really now in our parasha, which is chapter 12 in the book of Shmot, that's when we're starting to get all the mitzvot. That's when we really start getting them. Up until now, it was just stories and historical events, and not only that, a lot of instructions, how to do, what to do, a lot of inspiration. But really mitzvot, now in this parasha is when we're starting to really get the mitzvot. Now, of course, like I said, some can argue and say, but wait a minute, we got in Sefer Bereshit a few mitzvot. And first of all, the beginning of the mitzvot that we got, because a lot of people say, yeah, but the first mitzvah we got is to be fruitful and multiple, pruvu. But that's one of the mitzvot that were given before the time of Noach, and these are considered part of the 7 laws of Noach. So these are not considered in the mitzvot that we got separately. All mankind got these mitzvot. So till the flood there were 6 mitzvot that all mankind got, and then on the 7th one was given after the flood. That's where they're called the 7 laws of Noach. And after that, there was a few other mitzvot that very few people got, like Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, which is the circumcision, and Gid Nasha, the tendon of the leg. But the explanation is, since they were given specifically to them and before Matan Torah, then these are considered part of the mitzvot, but not the beginning of the giving of the mitzvot. Now, you would think that the first mitzvah that Hashem will give us will be like a serious mitzvah, and because we know here that the first mitzvah that we got is Rosh Chodesh, is sanctifying the month, and it's kind of kind of weird. This is the mitzvah you're telling me the first one to do? I would think that maybe the first mitzvah will be Anochi Ava Elokecha, what we heard in the 10 Commandments. We're going to hear it in a few weeks, that I am your God. You would think that will be like the first mitzvah will be chosen to be something big. But this is the first mitzvah, something technical. It's really a technical mitzvah, because with the way we used to do it, as we had a Beit Din, and they used to wait for witnesses to come and to say we saw the moon, and there's a whole process how they did that. We'll go through it in a second, but it's a very technical mitzvah. It's not such a, you would say, a big mitzvah that you would consider that the Torah has to start specifically with that. Now, what is this technical mitzvah? Is that we decide the calendar. That's what we decided. We have the ability to decide our own calendar. We have our individual calendar. But, at the end of the day, how many people really use the Hebrew calendar? You pay rent, you go by the non-Jewish calendar. You don't pay rent on Aleph the Chodesh. You pay rent on the first of the month. Your salary, almost everything you do on the non-Jewish calendar. I'm talking about us practically now. How many people are there? What date is it? Oh, today is Chaf Dalet B'Tevet. Really? Wow. Most people, you ask them, what's the date today? They'll be like, I don't know. They'll tell you, today is January 19. I don't know what's the date. Once in a blue moon, you remember the date. So even practically, we don't really use this calendar much. Nevertheless, this is our unique calendar, and this technical mitzvah that we're obligated, that we find it in this week's parasha, that is called the first mitzvah in the Torah, is a technical mitzvah to set up a calendar. That's the whole thing. And of course, one will ask, that's such an important mitzvah that the Torah, so to say, starts with this mitzvah? And this mitzvah, of course, is called Chodesh Hazeh Lachem. This month is going to be for you. And comes a question, why is this considered the first mitzvah in the Torah? Not only that, why is this mitzvah so unique and so interesting? Because if this is the first mitzvah in the Torah, then obviously there's something to it, there's something there. Now we know that we have 613 mitzvot. How do we know that, by the way? If you read in the Torah, there's much more than 613 mitzvot. So how do we know? How did we narrow it down to 613? Where does the number come even from? So the Rambam, he organized all the 613 mitzvot. And really, we don't really know from the Torah how we got to 613, because when you really count in the Torah, you won't find 613. So we have two ways how they're organized. The first one is the Rishonim. There's periods of people that are sages. There's Rishonim, Achonim, Tanaim, Amoraim, Saboraim. There's different periods. In the period that are called Rishonim, the Rishonim, they took all the mitzvot from the Torah and they organized it in a very organized way. But you know how they organized it? In the order how it comes in the Torah. And this is one way how to read the 613 mitzvot and how we narrow it into 613 mitzvot. But specifically, Rambam did it in a different way. He also did the same thing. He took all the mitzvot in the Torah and organized them in a list that brings it down to 613. But he wrote them not according to how they come in the Torah, according to their importance. So if you're reading the first mitzvah, according to the Rambam, mitzvah number 1 from the 613 is to know that there's a God. Leida sheyesh Eloka. That I have to know that there's a God and that created the world. This is mitzvah number 1 in the list of Rambam. Mitzvah number 2 is that I have to separate him. It's called liyachedo, to know that there's no partners here. There's no second gods, there's no other gods, there's no helpers, there's no assistants, it's just God. This is called liyachedo, to make him yachid, to make him single. This is number 2. Number 3, according to the Rambam, is to love Hashem. La'avo v'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha. We read that in Kriyat Shema every day. Number 4, Leira. I have to fear Hashem. So look at the order how Rambam is writing it in his list. He is writing it not according to how they come in the Torah, rather specifically in the importance. Now, we're wondering, how does this mitzvah came here? This mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh. How does this coming into the list? Now, when Hashem started organizing the mitzvot, according to the Rambam, this mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh is way in. It's 153 from the list. The Rambam has a list of the 613 mitzvot. So according to Rambam, the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh, sanctifying the month and setting up a calendar, it's mitzvah number 153, Kuf Nun Gimel. How can it be that when Hashem organized the mitzvot, then Hashem brought it to the first one? To a point that Rashi says, no, this is the first mitzvah. The Torah had to start in this perek. This is a commentary of Rashi. So first we want to know why for Hashem is considered the first mitzvah. And I have here a few questions already. Why? What's so special about this mitzvah? Why Hashem decided for it to be first when Rambam, who comes to write down the mitzvot, for him it's not even considered such an important mitzvah. He puts it number 153 down in line. And more than that, what does it mean? I mean, the mitzvah, it says, HaChodesh hazeh lachem. This month is going to be for you. So I want to understand the text. What does it mean, HaChodesh? What is the word HaChodesh? First I have the Hey here, and also the actual word Chodesh, which the translation is a month. But why specifically that is the name of the mitzvah? So just to give a very quick background on the mitzvah, is that Hashem says, I want you to set up your own calendar. And the way it's going to be done, then you're going to set up a Beit Din, and you're going to wait for 2 witnesses to come, and those witnesses are going to have to come and say, I saw the moon. And the rabbis in the Beit Din will interrogate the witnesses. How big was it? From which angle you saw it? How did it look? Was it white? Was it yellow? To see if they're really talking the truth. And as long as they found that these witnesses are truthful, then they sanctify, they say, okay, today will be Rosh Chodesh. Now that will affect the entire calendar. Because if today is Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, then I know when to expect Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan. And specifically in the month like Tishrei or Nisan, that there is Yamim Tovim, then I know when is going to be Sukkot, when is going to be Pesach, when is going to be Yom Kippur. So we actually got the power to sanctify the month and to set up the calendar. Now, so we mentioned that we want to know not only why is it number 1 by Hashem, and why is it not number 1 by Rambam, but more than that, what is the meaning of the word Chodesh? Because the words in Hebrew have a meaning. Everything has a meaning. For example, the word year in Hebrew is Shana. Shana comes from the word in Hebrew Shoneh. Shoneh means to repeat. If you actually look at the word, lishnot is to repeat. That's why the Mishnah is called Mishnayot, because they got it orally from Moshe Rabbeinu. And how would they memorize it? By repeating it over and over. And when you say a certain verse over and over and over and over and over, at some point you remember it off by heart. That's why the oral Torah is called, at the beginning, the original oral Torah was called Mishnayot, because they used to memorize it. They didn't have books. They didn't have any other way of knowing it. They couldn't write it down, so they would memorize it and chant it. And this is where the word Mishnah comes from, because it comes from the word Leshanen, to repeat, to repeat, to repeat. Most people, if you pray for 10 years out of a Siddur, the same verse over and over every day, at some point you know it off by heart. You don't have to read the Siddur, you don't notice it, but at some point you'll notice that, whoop, I'm saying it off by heart, I don't even have to look. So in the word Shana, year, then comes from the word Lishnot, it comes and repeats every year, comes over and over and repeats itself. In the word Chodesh, there's the entire idea of the Jewish calendar is hidden in the word Chodesh. First of all, Chodesh comes from the word in Hebrew hitchadshut, to be renewed, a rebirth. And why is that? Because the Jewish calendar is based on the moon. The non-Jewish calendars are all based on the sun. This is the only calendar for any type of calendar that is based on the moon. And we see that the moon, during the beginning of the month, We don't see it. In the middle of the month, it's fully, appears fully, and then it disappears and then reappears, and appears and disappear and appear and disappear. This is called hitchachut, a renewity. It becomes a constantly renew itself. So the word to renew itself means hitchachut. So the word chodesh is the same root that comes from to get something to be renewed. Now, why do we even need a calendar? If you really think of it, why do we really need a calendar? Who needs that headache? But when you really stop to think of it, we have to have a calendar, because everything is based on time. Your rent, as you know, a monthly rent. Your salary, once a week, once a month. Everything is depending on time. Really, everything. When you really look to the bottom of it, our entire life is defined by time, by days and hours and minutes and seconds, and so we have to have a calendar, to have some type of a monitor. What is a month? What is a year? And everything, if you really meditate on it for a second, you'll see that everything it boils down to it's under the control of time. When Hashem wanted to create the world, he had an idea. He was like, okay, I want to create a beautiful world, and it was going to have many different purposes. The first thing that he needed to create is a space where to put the world in, because in the spiritual world there's no space. And then he had to create time, because the world is limited to time. So these are the two things that Hashem had to create, time and space. So first of all, everything in the world is controlled and governed and ruled by time. So therefore, we need a calendar. We need some type of a system that will allow me to follow the time, to know exactly what's going on. Now, how do we really know what's a year? Where does it say that there's such a thing as a year? It doesn't say in the Torah anything about a year. It doesn't mention that. So how do we know that there's something like a year? You know, in the beginning, before the time of the giving of the Torah, the nations, they also had ways of calculating the time. But the nations, they used to look at the sun, and the cycle, the year, was based on the cycle of the sun. And even 4,000 years ago, they were able to know that the sun goes in a certain cycle, specifically 365 days of the year, and they used to set the calendar based on the cycle of the sun. And why specifically the sun? Where did they figure that out? Because the sun is the cycle of all the crops. It's a very easy cycle, because I have seasons. I have winter, I have summer, I have fall, and I have autumn. And they were able, even 4,000 years ago, to figure out in this period of the year there's winter, in this period of the year there's summer, and so forth. And they figured out that the sun have a cycle, and it was very easy to say, okay, the sun is very predictable, and the seasons are predictable. Not only that, the sun affects the agriculture. One time everybody were farmers. It's not like today you go to the supermarket. In the olden days everybody were farmers. You had a piece of land and you grow your food. So the sun is also a very easy cycle, because it controls agriculture. I know when the crops grow, when I have to harvest it, if you follow a certain pattern, you're saying, okay, I can follow the pattern of the sun, and according to that decide my year. So the more ancient calendars, and even up until now, even the calendar that we use right now, by the way, the non-Jewish calendar, it didn't have 12 months. Originally it was only 10 months, and it started in March. There wasn't January and February. This is a new edition for about 400 years ago. Before that, they didn't have 12 months in the calendar. Look at that in history, and you'll find that the non-Jewish calendar had 10 months, and it started from March to December. Later on they added that. But nevertheless, the cycle of the sun is a very easy cycle, because it goes specifically 365 days in a cycle. It controls the climate, it controls agriculture, it controls the seasons. It was very easy to follow it. But our calendar, the Jewish calendar, is calculated by the moon, not by the sun. And specifically, the cycle of the moon is 29 days and a half per month. That's the cycle of the moon, the renewity of the moon, which means we see that the moon is there for the cycle of the moon is 29 days and a half. Half the time we see the moon, half the time we don't see the moon. Now, the word chodesh comes from the word, like I said, hitchadshut, to be renewed. And every month the moon renews itself, so to say. First it disappears, and at some point we really don't see the moon, and then it renews itself and we see a full size of the moon. And like this is the cycle every month. But specifically what makes it a little bit more difficult to calculate is that it has the cycle is 29 days and a half, 29 days and 12 hours. Now, we know that the moon does 12 circles per year. So 12 cycles will make a year, which brings it, if you have 29 and a half days, it brings it to a count of 354 days a year. So it's a different time of the year of the sun calendar. Now what happens is, that's if you try to parallel the cycles of the moon and the cycle of the sun, at some point the moon is way behind. That's why every 3 years we add a month, which is the second Adar, the leap year, to catch up. So why? Because if we're not going to do that, then Pesach sometimes will fall in the winter, and then sometimes Pesach will fall back, and we need to go. The Pesach has to be in the Aviv, in the spring. So every 3 years we add one month to the calendar, just to catch up for the days that we lost. So only for Pesach not to fall in the winter, because Pesach we need to harvest for the matzot, and not only that, for the Omer and the harvesting time. So that's why we have the leap year. But specifically the word chodesh is to come so we can look for the renewity, so to say, the hitchadshut. Now, simple, if you're really looking at the literal level, then when they left Mitzrayim, that was the beginning of the year. Because really the beginning of our calendar, the Jewish calendar, is the month of Nisan, not the month of Tishrei. It doesn't say anywhere that the month of Tishrei is the first month. Rather, even when you're looking in the Torah is already telling us that Tishrei is the 7th month. When it's talking about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, look at the commandment of Yom Kippur in the Torah. It says, "B'chodesh hashvi'i, Shabbat Shabbaton tiyeh lachem." In the 7th month, you have to have a break, and you have to fast, and nitem et nafshotechem. You can't eat. So really the first month of the year is Nisan and not Tishrei. So when you're really looking at the simple explanation or the simple way to read the Torah, then we see that the month that they left Mitzrayim, that's when they started. And when were they commanded to start setting up the month? On Rosh Chodesh Nisan. On Rosh Chodesh Nisan they got the commandment, and then they had to start applying it. If you remember last week when we spoke about the plagues, I told you that the plagues started in the month of Iyar, and we learned that because they left in Nisan, and when Moshe came a year before that, that's when Paro says, "I'm not going to give you any more strays, or how do you call it, the stalks from the barley and the wheat to create the bricks." So we learned from that when Moshe came, it was in the month of Iyar. Then Moshe disappeared for 3 months. He wasn't so happy with the fact that Hashem did what he said. And then the first plague, the blood, was in the month of Av. and then the frogs was already in Elul, and every month till Adar was the first plagues. And then the 9th plague was on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and then the 10th plague, the killing of the firstborn, was on the 14th day of Nisan. So the commandment of Rosh Chodesh was, of the actual Rosh Chodesh was on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Because before Bnei Israel left Mitzrayim, they needed some mitzvot. They didn't have any mitzvot. So they were commanded on circumcision, they commanded on the Korban Pesach, they commanded on Rosh Chodesh. Hashem started giving the mitzvot to be busy with. So according to the literal level, then the first month is when we left Mitzrayim. But we got a very unique commandment on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, is to sanctify the month, and not only to sanctify the month, is to create a new month. That's how unique this mitzvah is. Now, the way it was done, like I told you, there was a Beit Din, and they needed 2 witnesses to come and testify that they actually saw the moon. But this system made a lot of problems. First of all, there were a lot of people that were trying to mess up the system, and they used to do all sorts of problems. In the beginning, how would they let everybody know that it's Rosh Chodesh? I mean, the Beit Din was sitting either in Yerushalayim, and later on it was sitting in a city called Yavne. But how would they let everybody know? They didn't have SMS messages and WhatsApp, and so they used to light a bonfire. And then the next city far away would see the smoke, so they knew, oh, it's Rosh Chodesh, they would light a bonfire. Then the other city far away would see the smoke, and that's how they used to do it. But there was one point, a group of people, that they were very against the system, and what they used to do is they used to light bonfires the day before or day after. They used to confuse everybody. They knew when Rosh Chodesh is about to happen, because they would count 29 days, and then start blowing up fires. And then people would think that it's Rosh Chodesh, then they would sanctify the Rosh Chodesh, and they make a whole big balagan there. So they stopped with the fires, so they started with the messengers. And then the messengers would take them time to get there, because Israel was very big, and sometimes it would take them 2 weeks to get from one point to another point. So in the meantime, they didn't know when is Rosh Chodesh. So when it came to months like Tishrei, that they need to do Sukkot and Yom Kippur, or in Nisan and Pesach, they didn't know when to do it. This is one of the reasons why outside of Israel, in the diaspora, all the festivals we do 2 days. In Israel, we only do one. And outside of Israel, Pesach is 2 days, Shavuot is 2 days, Sukkot is 2 days, everything is 2 days. From the same reason, because they didn't know when, so they used to celebrate 2 days, one for a real Yom Tov and one is a doubt. In Israel, they didn't do it. Since we don't have a Beit Din to change it, now we know. Now we just have calendars, so it's very easy to do it. But since there was a Beit Din that made this rule, then you need a greater Beit Din to undo the rule. So that's why up until today, anywhere outside of Israel, they still do 2 days. It's called the Yom Tov Shel Galuyot. The only thing that we do 2 days here in Israel is Rosh Hashanah. And that also has a reason. It's a very long explanation, what a story that happened in the Talmud. But that's where these 2 days came from. But nevertheless, this whole idea with the Beit Din caused a lot of problems. One time there's a story in the Gemara, in the Talmud, in the tractate Brachot, that once there was a big machloket and it almost blew up the whole Sanhedrin system. Caused a big problem. Because the story says that 2 witnesses came on the eve of Rosh Hashanah. And at the time, the head of the Beit Din was Rabban Gamliel. And they came, and the head of the Beit Din interrogated the witnesses, and they decided, according to the witnesses, today is going to be Rosh Hashanah. I mean, it's not just a regular Rosh Chodesh, it's Rosh Hashanah. That's now going to affect the calendar for the entire year. First of all, when Yom Kippur will be, when Sukkot will be, when all the holidays. There was one Tana, his name was Rabbi Yoshua, and he says, no, I think they're liars. I think these witnesses are lying, and I don't believe that it's true, and therefore today is not Rosh Hashanah, tomorrow will be Rosh Hashanah. Because it can be more than 31 days. The month can be either 29 days or 30 days. Can be 31. We don't have a Lamed Aleph in our calendars. We have either Chaftet or Lamed. That's it. And then it goes right away to Aleph of the next month. Rabbi Yoshua says, no, I don't believe these witnesses. And I don't think today is Rosh Chodesh. I think tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. Tomorrow is Rosh Hashanah. And he argued. Now it caused a big problem. Because he's saying Yom Kippur is going to be this day. And according to the Beit Din, Yom Kippur will be the day before. And it caused a very big argument. Now, not only that he argued, he said, not only that I don't believe that the witnesses are speaking truth, I myself will not celebrate today Rosh Hashanah. I will celebrate it tomorrow. And the same thing with Yom Kippur. I will celebrate Yom Kippur according to my calculation, because I don't believe these witnesses are speaking truth. And the Beit Din thought that they are speaking truth, and they set up the day. Now comes a problem, because he is now arguing with the Beit Din. He's one of the sages in the Beit Din. Rabban Gamliel was the Nasi, was the head of the Beit Din, and he had to come and show some leadership here. Because what's going on now what's going to happen in the nation, this is going to can cause a big problem right now. So he told him, I order you to celebrate Yom Kippur when I celebrate Yom Kippur, so everybody will see that you're celebrating the Yom Kippur that I have decided as the head of the Beit Din, and not the Yom Kippur that you have decided. But nevertheless, this didn't go so well in the beginning. So Rabbi Yoshua said, okay, let me think about it. So Rabbi Yoshua goes and he consults Rabbi Akiva. And he says to Rabbi Akiva, what should I do here? I mean, this can cause an explosion here in the Beit Din. But I'm 100% convinced these are liars, these witnesses. And I don't accept the ruling. Now this is a big thing, because when the Beit Din decides when is going to be Rosh Hashanah, you know what it means? It's when you're going to be Yom Kippur. When Hashem is going to appear Himself here in this world. When Hashem is going to forgive everybody. Can you imagine you're missing one day? Everybody's missing Yom Kippur? This is a big thing. This is not some decision if we're having potatoes today or rice. This is a big thing. Rabbi Yoshua goes and he consults with Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva says Rabbi Akiva answered him. The Torah says in the Parashat Bo, Ele moadei Hashem asher tikru otam b'moadam. This is the commandment that we get from the Torah about the Moadim, about the festivals. And what does the commandment says? Ele moadei Hashem. These are the festivals, the Moadim of Hashem, asher tikreu otam b'moadam. That you're going to read them in their time. And it's using the word otam. Rabbi Akiva told him, don't read it otam, rather read it atem. Because if you go now and open Parashat Emor in the Torah and read the verse, otam is without a vav. So Rabbi Akiva says, don't we just put a cholam there, a cholam chaser, so we read them otam, them. Rabbi Akiva says, listen, look in the Torah. It says otam without a vav. So you can read it as atem. You, as a congregation, you have to listen to the entire Beit Din. You have to go by what the Beit Din says. And there are the majority, and that's what the majority said. That's what's going to happen. You have nothing to worry about. Even if they're lying. The whole Beit Din decided this is not a Beit Din of 3 people. This is a Beit Din of 71 people. They all decided, then you go with everybody, and you go and you celebrate Yom Kippur like Rabban Gamliel tells you. But it almost caused a huge explosion, because everybody's always waiting for some juice to make a machloket. So all you need is just to throw a few more sparks into the fire, and it will cause a big deal. Nevertheless, then this whole idea of sanctifying the month caused a lot of problems in the past. But nevertheless, this mitzvah of the month is I have to attach myself to the moon and not to the sun. All the other calendars is based on the sun, and I don't have to do much because I know the sun is systematically 365 days of the year. The moon changes. Now, the way we do it now, we have a way to calculate it. It's a very sophisticated calculation. That the most amazing thing is now science, based on the sophisticated computers that NASA have, they found now that our system from 3,000 years ago is so accurate, and it's and the sophisticated computers that NASA has, it's still not as accurate as our calculation. If you attended the prayer yesterday, then right after Kriyat Torah, we said a certain blessing. It's called Kiddush HaChodesh. And usually the rabbi or the gabbai will announce when would be the molad, when would be the moment. We know the actual moment when the moon renews itself. And you would, if you attend the prayer, you will see that this month the molad is on Wednesday, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I don't remember exactly, don't take me by my word, but 2 o'clock in the morning, I think 22 minutes, and 2 halakim, and 2 parts, meaning taking a minute and breaking it into parts. So we have a calculation, it's so accurate, we know exactly when the moon is going to be renewed. So the point is that I have to, so to say, attach myself to the moon, wait for the right moment, and then sanctify it. So this is the technical part of it, but I'm still left with the same question. What's so important about this mitzvah? That it's the first mitzvah in the Torah. It seems to me there are the more important mitzvot, like Rambam. Rambam thought that 152 mitzvahs are more important than this one. So what's so important about this mitzvah that the Torah says that this should be the first, that the Torah should start in this chapter because this is the first mitzvah? Now, it's funny that this mitzvah is coming up exactly at this time because very not too long ago, we just finished a very special holiday, the holiday of Hanukkah. I mean, Hanukkah, we're in the month of Tevet. Hanukkah was part of Tevet. And what's the whole theme of Hanukkah? That Antiochus wanted to destroy our Torah. He didn't want to destroy us. This is the only time that somebody didn't want to kill us. Rather, he wanted to kill the neshama. Antiochus had 3 things that bothered him in our Torah. That's what he didn't like. He didn't like the Shabbat, he didn't like circumcision, and he didn't like the fact that we have our own calendar. These are the 3 mitzvot: Shabbat, Milah, Chodesh. This is the acronym of Sameach. And that's what Antiochus didn't like. He could not stand the fact that we have a special day that nobody else has, that we have to cut a piece of our skin, and that we have our own calendar. Why do you think you're so special? Why can't you use everybody's calendar? Why you have to have your own calendar? This is what Antiochus didn't like, and that's what caused him to start cutting off the Torah. And the thing is that even the non-Jews, you can see, they figured out that there's something very unique in this whole month, to a point that even Antiochus didn't like it. Nobody liked it. But obviously they noticed that there's something going on with this whole mitzvah of the month. And to explain it a little bit more, there's a funny joke that there was once a woman, and she was pregnant, and she lived in some little village somewhere in Russia. And in the winters in Russia, it's like a -30. Nobody even puts their nose out. Everybody's in the house. And she went into labor. And when exactly? On Shabbat. Now she starts screaming. The rabbi doesn't know what to do. Because they call the rabbi, look, what are we going to do now? She's going into labor. So the rabbi says, okay, we got to take her right away to the next town. There's a doctor there. Okay, so they call the guy in the village that he was the taxi driver. Now you have here taxis. Then nothing changed. 300 years ago, they also had taxis. They had the guy who had the horse and the buggy. He was the taxi. The rabbi calls him and tells him, listen, I need you to take this woman to to the nearest city. And he says, but it's Shabbat. I can't use my buggy now and the horse, and I'm not allowed to do. The rabbi tells him, listen, this is Pikuach Nefesh. She's giving birth. I allow you. I'm telling you, you can drive now your buggy and your horse to the next town. Really? He says, but now that I see that you're giving some leniencies here, I want to take with me a bottle of vodka just to warm up a little bit my blood. That's carrying. That's tiltul. How am I going to carry that? The rabbi tells him, it's okay. Take the bottle. Just take her already. She's going into labor. Now the taxi driver says, oh, I see the rabbi here is giving a lot of leniencies today. So he says, you know what? I want to take my pipe with me. I want to smoke pipe because it warms up my face, the heat. You can't light a pipe on Shabbat. The rabbi tells him, take your pipe, smoke your pipe, drink your vodka. Just take her already. Just go already with her. She's in labor. She can die, chas v'shalom. So the taxi driver, the buggy driver says, you see how much the rabbis know and they're not telling us? So, because the rabbi was allowing him to do all these things, just go and take her, she's about to die. And he was saying, look how much the rabbis know and they're not telling us. You're allowed to smoke, you're allowed to carry, you're allowed to drive. So, the thing is that there's a lot of things in the Torah that the Torah doesn't say about that. Technically, almost everything that we do doesn't say in the Torah. But the joke comes to say, look how much the rabbis know and they're not telling us. For example, you're sitting in a shul on Shabbat. Where does it say in the Torah that I have to sit in a shul? Do you ever saw the word Bet Knesset in the Torah? No. Doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that I have to sit in a shul. Does it say anywhere in the Torah that I have to put a yarmulke on? How do you recognize an observant Jew as a yarmulke? Doesn't say in the Torah I have to put a yarmulke on. Anywhere. And like that, almost everything that we do. Where does it say in the Torah I have to put tefillin on? And every man puts it every day. Do you ever saw the word tefillin in the Torah? No. It says ot, a sign. It doesn't say the word tefillin. And like this, everything. Where does it say in the Torah that I have to pray? You ever saw the word tefillah in the Torah? Does it say anywhere in the Torah that I have to pray 3 times a day? You see people are fanatic in hail. In the morning was raining like hail. We had men here, 6 o'clock in the morning, everybody praying. The whole world, everybody knows you have to pray. Where does it say in the Torah I have to pray? So most of the places, most of the things that we do, most of them, doesn't say in the Torah. So where does Judaism came from? Where does all these things come from? They all come from the oral Torah. Because most of the things that we do doesn't say in the Torah. Even for example, about having an etrog on Sukkot. It's a serious mitzvah. People spend thousands of shekels and dollars to buy a good etrog. You ever saw the word etrog in the Torah? It says pri etzadar. Just says a fruit, a citrus fruit. Next year I'll come with a pomegranate. Not a pomegranate, a grapefruit. Or orange. Where does it say the word etrog even? Where does it say anything about the 4 species? So really when you're looking at the Torah and what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't say in the Torah. So where do we come up with all these things? Specifically, we come up with these things from the oral Torah. The oral Torah was given to Moshe, for Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu taught it and explained it. So, for example, when you're taking the mitzvah of tefillin, that every man, at least I was about to say every man puts tefillin, but every man should put, but every observant man puts tefillin every day. How do we know how to do it? It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah the word tefillin, rather it says ot. You should have a sign on your hand. So I want to put this on my hand now. Here's my sign, here, now that's it, I'm done. So, rather, Moshe Rabbeinu comes and he teaches us. No. It has to be a box made out of leather, and in the box you'll find parchments that says the Kriyat Shema on it, and the straps have to be black, a certain length, and you put it specifically on this part, and you tie it 3 times here, 7 times here, and then the other one you put here, and this is like all the mitzvot. It says in Kriyat Shema that we have to have a mezuzah on our door. Does it say what it means, a mezuzah? I want to hang a banana on my door now. Who says that I have to be a parchment? Says Kriyat Shema in it. Moshe Rabbeinu went up to the mountains and got the oral Torah and started explaining every little part of the Torah. And that's what we do for 3,400 years. So the entire Torah, so to say, there wasn't invented, rather it was explained in the oral Torah. Now, the Ibn Ezra explains this is specifically why the Torah is starting with the mitzvah of a Chodesh Hazeh Lachem, with the mitzvah of sanctifying the month. Because this specific mitzvah is a proof for the oral Torah. Because other than that, how do I know how to sanctify the month? What does it mean even to sanctify the month? This specific mitzvah is to prove that the oral Torah is the way that we explain everything. All the interpretations and the commentary, that's all the oral Torah. This is the mitzvah that will come and say, yes, because of this mitzvah, we learn that the entire Torah is the interpretation of the oral Torah. Look now how amazing. 2,000 years we were exiled. 2,000 years Jews were in Russia, in Iraq, in Libya, in Morocco, anywhere in this planet. 70 years ago, everybody starts coming back into this country. Everybody has the same tefillin, the same Sefer Torah, the same mezuzah, the same circumcision, the same tzitzit, everybody. Now you would think that after 2,000 years, one from this part of the planet and one from that part of the planet will come with completely different things. The broken phone system. How can it be? 2,000 years, it remained. From all walks of life, it's the exact same thing. We all slaughter the animal the exact same way. We all sanctify the month the same way. We all celebrate Shabbat. Everything's identical. Okay, so one maybe will tie the tefillin like this, one will tie like that, changed a little bit, but it's the same thing. So this is a proof that the oral Torah is the way to perform the written Torah. Because there are a group of people that they follow exactly what it says in the Torah. It says don't cook a calf in its mother's milk, then they won't cook a calf in the mother's milk, but anything else that is meat and dairy, that's totally fine. It says on Shabbat, we'd have so many rules in Shabbat, and we know 39 prohibitions on Shabbat. Only 4 of them are actually written in the Torah. So where did we come the 39 from? All Torah. So they will follow what it says in the Torah. It says in the Torah you should not light fire on Shabbat. That's what they do. They do everything else, just don't lighting fire on Shabbat. They're called Karaim. They just do what it says in the Torah. And they said, no, we don't believe in the oral Torah. This is a rabbinical, it's an invention. We believe what it says in the Torah. But specifically comes this mitzvah and it says, no, this is the proof that what our sages have taught us, that's the interpretation of the Torah, and that's what we have to do. Now, how do I really know exactly what to do? I don't understand what it really says. I don't even understand one word what it says in the Torah. Going back to the same example of the tefillin. Okay, it says ot. I don't know anything. How do I know it has to be black and square and stripes and one on the hand and one on the head? Rather, I need from that the explanation from our sages. Same thing with when it says about Kiddush HaChodesh, sanctifying the month. I don't understand one thing. It just says HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. I don't even know what's a month. You ever see the names of the month in the Torah? Nisan, Sivan, Iyar, Tishrei. It doesn't say them in the Torah. Where do I come up with that? I don't know what to do. I didn't hear Hashem telling me Nisan is the first month. It doesn't say in the Torah. Rather, then how do I know how to make a Rosh Chodesh? How do I know how to sanctify it? How do I know what it means a Chodesh? How many days? How many hours? What's the names? How many per year? The reason is that is Hashem said, I'm just going to give you the titles. Now I want you to go and search for the information. Where? In the manual. I'm buying now a product, especially in our days. The other day, my wife bought a new phone. I'm looking at the phone. I don't even see buttons. I'm like, how do you even turn this thing on? Once at least there were buttons. Now it's just a little thing. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't even know where the button is. I don't even know where you put the battery in. I don't even know up until today, I don't know, how do you turn your phone on? Now you have to press here, you have to do this, you have to do that. So we get a phone with no buttons. I don't even know how to turn it on. Now Hashem says, okay, now go look for the manual. The manual will tell you how you do everything. So the Torah came very, very condensed, with very little details. So Hashem should tell us, now go look for the manual, for the oral Torah, now learn how to do everything. Now, more than that, another thing we have to learn from that is that I can't learn the Torah by myself. Many people, they think that they can figure out the Torah by themselves. Now we learn here with the men, we learn the Gemara every day. Even if you are a professor in Aramaic, you can learn Gemara. There is one professor in the University of Bar Ilan. He's a professor in Aramaic. He knows all the types and the eras, because there's different types of Aramaic, like Arabic. It doesn't matter. You can be a professor in Aramaic. It doesn't mean you can learn the Gemara, because the Gemara, the Talmud has to be given over. Because you're just going to read the words, it's not going to make sense to you. We learn here every day, 6 o'clock in the evening, we learn Zohar. And everybody asking me, can I buy a translation? No, you can't. Why? Because the translation is not going to help you. You can't get to the right words to translate it. More than that, it has to be explained. And it's explained from one generation to another generation to another generation. Be now a professor in Aramaic. Open the Zohar, you're not going to understand one word. Now, even if you do get a translation, somehow, I don't believe there's one good translation out there. They're saying maybe now there's a few. Something like the Talmud, something like the Zohar, you have to learn in the original language. So, Chas v'Shalom, I'm not going to talk Lashon Hara about the translations. Maybe there is a good translation out there. I didn't find any. But nevertheless, something like the Zohar, you have to learn Aramaic, because you have to learn it in the original language. More than that, you need somebody to explain to you. You can't just figure it out by yourself. So that's the entire Torah is like that. You can't just pick up a book and say, now I'm just going to figure out the Torah. It has to be explained, and it has to be taught. And it means that I have to have an authority. There has to be a rabbinical authority. In the olden days, that's how it is up till to now. How do you think a person becomes a rabbi? He has to be ordained by a different rabbi that tests him. And it's not that you go to university. Now they have, rabbinical college or yeshiva university. But the real way, even the reality is that even today, in our days, the rabbinical ordinations, it's not like how it was in the olden days, by the way. In the olden days, to become a rabbi, it's not like today that you sit for 2 years and learn a few halachot and you get an ordination. Once you had to practice for 40, 50, 60 years, and then you get a real ordination. It's a real smicha lerabbanut. Now every person goes and learns a few halachot and becomes a rabbi. Not that I chas v'shalom, I'm not disrespecting anybody or making fun of anything. Just to get even the ordination of today is not so easy, if you see the material. But the point is that once a rabbi was a rabbi. That's why in our generation, a real Rav. How many real Rabbanim we have in our generation? I'm not talking about a person, he's a rabbi of the shul, and he gives some classes. A real Rav? We don't have, how many we have in our generation that they know the Torah inside out? So, a few weeks ago, one of the great rabbis of our generation, Rav Steinman, died. This is a Rav, knows the Torah inside out, backward, and off by heart. This is a Rav that you can say, this is Harav. So, but nevertheless, the information was given from one generation to the other. The first Rav, the first rabbi is Moshe. That's why we call him Rabbeinu. And he taught it to Yoshua, and the Yoshua to the Zkanim, and the Zkanim to Anshei Knesset HaGdolah, and they passed it on, and it came from generation to generation. You can't open the Torah, open a book and say, okay, let me just learn everything. Everything has to be explained to you. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how fluent you are in the language. The concepts have to be explained. The laws have to be explained. You know, I told you that when I became observant, then I didn't know what to do. So first I thought, okay, I'll be a scribe. And I was like, okay. So I went to learn to become a scribe. That's why now I told you now, Baruch Hashem, we got the new Sefer Torah. And when we brought the Sefer Torah, I mentioned, we need 3 Sifrei Torah. And I said, the 3rd Sefer Torah, I'm going to write my own. It was always my deal with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, is when I have my own shul, I'll write my own Sefer Torah. I don't know where I'm going to find the time to do that, but that was the deal with Hashem. But nevertheless, in the beginning, I said, okay, I will learn to become a scribe. Then I was like, okay, that might not bring too much money. Maybe I should become a shochet. Okay, so I learned to become a shochet. Up until today, my mom tells me, here's some chickens, go and slaughter them. So specifically, I don't want to start slaughtering animals because I know what's going to happen if I slaughter my own animals. All my friends suddenly, can you take my chicken too? Can you slaughter for me a few chickens? So, and then at some point I was like, you know what I want to really be? I want to be a mohel. I want to be the person who does the circumcision. So, you think you can open a book and learn how to do it? You have to stand with a mohel to go to hundreds and hundreds of Brit Milah to see every situation, every time, every angle. There's no book for that. And same thing when you learn to become a shochet. You learn the laws. First you learn practically the laws. But then you have to learn how to do the shechita. You need somebody who did that already for thousands of times to teach you how to do it. Practically, over and over and over. You know, there's many different levels in rabbinical status, so to say. And you know, to become a head of a Beit Din, this is called a Dayan. After you get a regular ordination, you have to go to a school, Bet Sefer, a school for Dayanut. And there's much more information, and then there's a lot of things that you need to know. One of the things that the Rav in the Beit Din needs to know, when a woman has her cycle, and after she finishes the cycle, then she has to count 7 clean days, and she has to check herself, and with a certain cloth. Now if the cloth is not going to be so clean, then she has to go to the rabbi, and the rabbi has to look at it. Maybe it's brown, maybe it's red, maybe it's dark red, maybe it's with dots, whatever it is. The rabbi has to look at it, and he has the knowledge and the ability to say, no, this is blood, you are impure, do again a hefsek, or no, this is fine, you can go to the mikveh, you're fine, you can continue counting. This is, by the way, what David HaMelech used to do. David HaMelech, the king, used to sit and look at the bloody cloths all day long. Now you would think the rabbi has nothing else to do than to look at bloody cloths. I was once, accompanied, how do you say? I accompanied a rabbi. I was attached to a rabbi. What's the word in English? I said it right? What? Accompanied, and I saw. When you get the cloth, you have to look in mainly daylight. Has to be daylight, and sometimes they use like a magnifying glass and look. And yeah, this is a big responsibility. You say yes, yes, no, no. That can be depending on a severe sin. If chas v'shalom you make a mistake, or if a child is coming to the world or not. Nevertheless, the rabbi who checks the cloth in order to get, so to say, an ordination, to be able to say yes or no, has to check 1,000 times before he can be ordained to be in the level of saying yes, this is pure or not pure. 1,000 times he has to be next to the rabbi. I sat next to the rabbi. I didn't follow through. It's not something that I'm planning on doing, maybe in the future. But I had to sit with him, and every time he will come and okay, you see this one, you see this, you see that, this is good, this is 1,000 times you have to do it before you will be allowed to give such an answer. So our entire Torah is given over from mouth to mouth, mouth to ear, ear to mouth, whatever it is, from generation to generation. So specifically this mitzvah comes to teach us that our entire Torah is concealed in the Torah, and we have to go to the manual, to the oral Torah, to start explaining everything. Really, basically saying, in other words, that Hashem has given our sages, as we call them Chazal, the knowledge, but more than that, He gave them the keys to time. We have keys to time. We can decide when something will happen. There's a midrash that the angels came to God and asked Him, when is going to be Rosh Hashanah? When is going to be Yom Kippur? Hashem told them, we got to wait for the Beit Din. Let's see what the Beit Din says, and then we'll know when will be Rosh Hashanah. So our Hashem, not only did they give the sages the knowledge, also He gave them the key to time. That really our sages will decide when Hashem will reveal Himself in the world on Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur there's a revelation of Hashem. We write the invitation and Hashem will come the day that we decide. There's a story connected to where we are here. There's a story that there was a certain city in Europe called Krakow. In the city of Krakow was a certain rabbi, a very famous rabbi, who's known as the Rama, and Rabbi Moshe Isserlis. About 500 years ago, there was a rabbi here in Tzfat. If you go down to the graves, in the very big area where there's his grave, and around them a lot of other graves, and his name is Rabbi Yosef Karo. He's known as the Maran, the Bet Yosef, who wrote the Shulchan Aruch. If you go to the cemetery, there's two big groups of graves. One of them is the Arizal and the Ramak and Rabbi Shlomo El-Kabetz. You go a little bit down, you'll see the Yosef Karo and his entire students. I mean, not entire, some of the students. Nevertheless, he wrote the Shulchan Aruch. He took the composition, what is called the Arba Turim, and he narrowed it down into a book that is set for all the halachot that are practical for our generation. I mean, in Shulchan Aruch, you're not going to find anything about korbanot, about sacrifices. You're not going to find anything about Bet HaMikdash and Shemitah and all these things. Only the things that have to do with us. And this is called the Shulchan Aruch. He wanted to, like a set table, he wanted to narrow everything down. Specifically at that time, this other rabbi who was living in Krakow, who's known as the Rama, says, oh, the Sephardi rabbi is starting to compile Shulchan Aruch, I'll start doing it too. And he started doing based on the Psak Halacha of Ashkenaz. At some point, this is what a great individual he was, he says, you know what, if I'm going to make an Ashkenaz Shulchan Aruch, you know what it's going to cause? More machloket, more arguments, more jealousy and hate in the nation. He burned everything that he wrote. And we don't have a Shulchan Aruch for the Ashkenaz. Rather, we have the Psak Halacha of the Rama. So you can look in different books and you would see what the Shulchan Aruch says. This will be for the Sfaradim. And what the Rama says, the Psak Halacha of the Rama, that will be for the Ashkenazim. But he burnt everything that he wrote because he didn't want to bring more machlokot more arguments into the nation. Anyways, there is a story that a certain individual came to him with a very unique disease. And he told him, I need advice what to do. He told him, I want you to move to Tzfat. What? He says, I want you to move to Tzfat. Okay, the rabbi told him, he packs his bags and he moved to Tzfat. And the doctors in the city of Krakow told him, you have a couple months to live. When he went to the rabbi, he wanted to see. Maybe the rabbi is a wise man. Maybe he knows. So he sent him off to Tzfat. And sure enough, he moved to Tzfat. And months have passed. Over a year have passed. And he's good. So he visited again Krakow and he went back to the Rama and he told him, how did you know? Like, why did you send me to Tzfat? Well, there's something in the air there. Well, it's up on the mountain. It's affecting my disease. The Rama told him, no, the disease that you have is a disease that animals carry. And there is a machloket in halacha in regards to this disease which will make the animal trefa. The animal not edible. And there's a machloket between me and the Bet Yosef. According to my opinion, this type of disease will make the animal not kosher within 2-3 months, meaning that you carry this disease, you will die faster. But the Bet Yosef in Tzfat, according to his opinion, the animal will not be trefa, and it's kosher to eat. So I sent you over there, because here I'm the balabait. I'm the authority. So if you are under me, and my psak halacha is that you will not live for more than 2-3 months, then I sent you to the ones who's, so to say, against my opinion, to Tzfat, and sure enough, it worked. So the story even saying that the Rama says, if I'm the balabait here, down here in this world, then what I say takes control, how do you say? Precedence in the world above. And that's what happens. If the Rav of the Beit Din here says something, that has value in the heavenly court, and that's what's going to happen. Like I gave you the example with the cloth, a woman will go to the Rav will tell her, pure, that's it. She goes to the mikveh, she's pure. No question here, even if it's real blood. But the Rav said, you're pure. The Rav gives a woman a heter to do something in that department. That the Rav said, that's it, end of story. You know, a lot of times, people come and ask me a question, and I tell them, I can't answer you. Yeah, but you're a rabbi. No, I'm not a Rav. I don't have authority. Go to the Beit Din, and the Beit Din, the Rav in the Beit Din, he has authority. The other day, one of the students here came and said, can you remove for me a vow? Hatarat Nedarim. So I said, listen, you know, technically 3 men can do that, technically. And it's not like Rosh Hashanah, that we do it before Rosh Hashanah, we have our 10 men. I told him, really, the right way of doing is you have to go to the Beit Din. Because you want a Rav of a Beit Din sitting there. The other 2 men are less important who they are. But the first one has to be a Rav of the Beit Din, to be able to undo the vow. So the rabbi in the Beit Din has a lot of authority. And you know, for example, my rabbi is a genius in the Torah. If I will ever go to him with a question with halacha, he's not going to answer me. He's like, no, don't ask me. But why? Because I'm not a Rav. Not a Rav. You know, I wish we would have a few of him in our generation. But he's not sitting in the Beit Din. He teaches, he does a lot of other things. He's a head of a yeshiva and many others, but he doesn't sit in the Beit Din. He doesn't call himself a Rav. And his knowledge in halacha, I bet you, is much more than the Rabbanim are sitting in the Beit Din. If I will go to him, he's not my address for questions in halacha. Because he tells me, I'm not a Rav, go to the Beit Din. So the rabbi who's sitting in the court, he has authority. What he says, that's what's going to happen in the world above. So we learn that, first of all, what we want to take from that is the Torah. A lot of people say, oh, I don't want to follow this, it's rabbinical. I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. No, that's the rabbis invented that. The rabbis didn't invent anything. The rabbi just got the key and the knowledge to understand what the Torah says, and they're giving it over. Nobody sat here 2,000 years ago with an agenda to trick us. And nobody was sitting 2,000 years ago like, okay, let's see how we're going to make their life hard. That's not the deal. These are righteous men that got the information from the generation before them, from the generation before them, till Moshe Rabbeinu, and they just explained it. So first of all, it's most important to understand that whatever the oral Torah says, that is the rule. This is what happens. And you can't come and distort it in any type of a way. But most important, I mean, we want to take something practical from what the Torah tells me. This is what I said now, it's important. It's important to know that the oral Torah is the authority. But I have to say, I want to learn something practical. Now, what is the thing that is most consuming us in our life? Time. It's all about time. If there was 30 hours a day, then I will be able to do a lot more. And it's all about time. Constantly we're looking at our clock. What's the time? What's the time? How long am I here? Even when I work, how much am I going to get? I'm going to get paid by the hour, by the day, by the project. It's all, everything in our life is around time. When am I waking up? When am I going to sleep? How long was I here? How long am I going to be there? Constantly we're looking at the time. Try once for a whole day not to look at the time. just to put yourself in this place of to see how much time is controlling you. Especially when it comes to money. It's about time. Now they say time is money. So the real thing, the most dominating thing in my life is time. And this is really the first thing in my life. The first time that I come into this world, it's all about time. And the Torah is coming to teach me here in this specific mitzvah, and that's why Hashem has chosen it to be the first mitzvah. It's coming to teach me something very, very unique. What is it telling me in this mitzvah to do? To sanctify the month. To make the month, to decide when it starts, and to do Kiddush HaChodesh, to sanctify it. Since time is one of the most dominating things in my life, this mitzvah is coming to teach me, sanctify your time. Value your time. Your time is very, very precious. Every moment of your life is a precious moment. Every second that passes in your life is a second that you missed. Maybe you utilized that second for something good. If you didn't, then you wasted that second. This mitzvah specifically is coming to teach me how valuable is my time, and how to lekadesh, how to sanctify my time, that every moment of my life is holy. And really I want to understand, what does Hashem want from me? Every given moment, Hashem gave me time. What does Hashem want me to do with the time? We know the teachings of Kabbalah explains, it says in the Zohar, that when I come down to the world, there is a definition of time, exactly how long I'm going to be in this world. No 1 second more or 1 second less. Unless I do severe sins, and I might go before my time. But assuming that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, there's an exact moment when I am going to be born, an exact moment when I'm going to die. That's why all these nonsense that people doing with doctors inducing and C-sections, and leave it alone. Unless it's a chas v'shalom, a life-threatening situation, other than that, let the baby come out natural. My wife is always late. Baruch Hashem, I have 6 kids. Every kid is perfectly late till the last moment. And every time the doctors are telling us the same thing, you gotta be induced, you gotta be a C-section, it's a lot of kids you have, you're older, and that. And I always tell the doctors the same answer. Don't worry, the last one came out. This one will come out too. You have nothing to worry about. At some point, he won't be comfortable. He will come out. You don't need to induce her. You don't need to do anything. You need to let the baby come out at the exact moment the baby is ready to come out. And like I said, unless it's life-threatening situation. People plan the day of the birth according to how it's comfortable to them. And if there's no life-threatening situation or health hazard, let the baby come out when it's ready to come out. And of course, you have to use the knowledge of medicine, but not to induce it, not to push it. There's a second when the baby has to come out to the world. Don't play with it. And you know, same thing with the deaf. You're not allowed to pull somebody's plug out because they're sick. I had a relative not too long ago, a few years ago, that she had a few strokes, and the doctors were convincing the kids, pull the plug out. She's gone, and she's 86. And one of them actually wanted to pull the plug out. He wanted to get the inheritance a day earlier, and we had to go through such fighting. Because I was like, "Ma pitom?" And you know what? 3 weeks of fighting, and after that, she woke up from the stroke and lived another 8 months. And we can't control these things. We're not allowed to. But more than that, I need to understand that every moment of my life is a present from Hashem. I mean, there's even like a sticker like that. No, the past is history, the future is unknown, and the present is a gift, something like that. One of these slogans are going around in all the WhatsApp groups and all the Facebook or whatever it is. There's all these fancy slogans. The point is, the Zohar says that I'm given a certain amount of time in my life. And more than that, I've explained that this is coming from the teachings of Kabbalah, that our soul is built from 5 levels. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechidah. The second level of our soul that is called Chaya is also called in the Kabbalistic term Tselem. And the teachings of Kabbalah explains that the Tselem is built from thousands and thousands of pieces. You can call them sparks. Nowadays it's applicable to call them pixels. But the amount of days that I'm supposed to be in this world, that's how many pixels or how many pieces will be building this part of the neshama. That is called chaya. And if a person died when he's 90 years old, take 90 times 365 plus the leap years and all that, you'll come to a huge amount, 30,000, 40,000. That's the amount of days that he was alive. That's the amount of sparks that was in his chaya. And every day I have to refine one of them, elevate them. And when I elevate that spark back to its source, when I go to sleep. When I go to sleep, I take it up. Now if chas v'shalom I didn't elevate that spark that day, I didn't refine it, so it's the same system of AT&T and Verizon, it rolls over to the next day. And then the next day I have 2, and then the following day I have 3, and the following day I have 4. That's why for many people, serving Hashem is very hard. Because I'm carrying already 2,000 days that I didn't do anything, so that's how much I'm carrying with me to start elevating. But the point is that every day of my life is calculated. Every second of my life has to be utilized for something. And this specific mitzvah is coming to teach me your life is valuable. Don't waste your life on nonsense. Don't waste seconds of your life on I don't want to start saying what, because people get very offended when I say that Facebook is a waste of time, this is a waste of time. People waste their life on nonsense. Some people are sitting for hours every day on really pointless things. People don't value their time. You have free time, utilize it for something positive. Learn Torah, go and help another person, do a good deed, do a charitable act. Our time is so valuable that Hashem gave us extra time for only one reason: to add something in the universe. If I'm sitting here right now not doing nothing, I'm just taking space in the universe, and I'm wasting time. And if it was money, if I would get money for every second that I do something, I would make sure that I'm doing it. If I work for somebody and I get a fixed salary, okay, I eat very slow, I walk very slow. Sometimes you see these offices, people are walking very slow there because they get paid at the end of the month. But it's when it's your own business, because my time is money. Same thing here. Hashem is giving us a lot of time to do something with it. And the lesson I need to take from that, I have woken up today in the morning. What am I going to do today? What am I supposed to do today? To sit on Facebook for 3 hours? Or to, I don't know what, again, I don't want to start throwing things. People get offended because I say things. People get offended when I tell them they're wasting their time on Facebook. But it's a waste of time. So go read your emails, look at a few posts, watch a video or two, spend 10 minutes, and move on. And people park there for like 3 hours. So, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just making an observation. I need to have an attitude that I woke up today in the morning, what am I doing today? I have a very valuable day. I can come and learn Torah. I can come and help somebody. I can do something. I can work on myself. I can refine myself. I have to value my time. And this is why this mitzvah was chosen by God as the most important one, to be the first one, because Hashem says, I gave you time, now use it. Use it wise. Take it. Do something with it. Don't waste it. Because you have a very limited amount of time in this world. And when you realize it? When you're 60, when you're 70, when you're 80, oh my gosh, where did the time go? Whoa. So when you're young, I have my whole life in front of me. Who said? Who said you're going to be here till 90? Maybe you're leaving today, tomorrow. I don't know when I'm leaving. I don't know what's my expiration date. The expiration date is right over here. I can't see it. We all have an expiration date. You are not the one who's going to live till 922. So we have to value our life. Every day I have to say thank you to Hashem 1,000,000 times that I even opened my eyes. And what am I doing today? My day has to be planned. Not in a fanatic or an OCD way. but I have to understand how valuable my time is and to apply it and to cherish my time and to sanctify my time and to understand it. Wow, what a present Hashem gave me. That's really what the Torah is trying to teach me, especially with this mitzvah. Why specifically? It was Rashi who says the Torah has to start here, because this is the first mitzvah, and the first mitzvah is that Hashem is telling us, take care of your time. Look how important your time is. Don't waste your time. And I know it's not easy. I know sometimes it's easier said than done. Sometimes you just want to be lazy and just lie in bed. I understand. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying that I have to understand. If I understand how valuable my time is, and I do what's called the time management, then I apply it the right way. Then my days are perfect. That's why it says about Avraham Avinu, V'Avraham Zaken Ba Bayamim. Zaken, he was old, and he Ba Bayamim, all of his days were full to the max. He used the days perfectly. And that's what we want to do. I want to get to a point that when I come up to Shamayim after 120 years, I can tell them every day was to the max. I got the best out of it. When you go now on a week vacation, I don't know, you go to Paris, you go to Rome, you're not missing one attraction. You're up at 4 o'clock in the morning, running in the city, not to miss one show, one store, one attraction. I mean, some people just sit in the hotel all day long and just eat. But, you know, people, they go to a 2-3 day vacation, they want a morning to night. They're not stopping. Why? I'm only here for a week. Some only here for 60, 70, 80 years. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. So Hashem tells you here, I'm giving you time, sanctify it. B'ezrat Hashem, we should really have the merit and the knowledge and the ability to cherish our time, to value our time, to understand how important every moment is, how valuable my life is. B'ezrat Hashem, if we do that, and we just utilize our time to a much more important way, then needless to say, how our life will be much more enriched and much more full of happiness and success and health and everything that we wish for ourselves. And B'ezrat Hashem, we should be married to value our time and to reach to a point that time will not have any importance. And of course that's going to happen very soon when Mashiach comes. But till Mashiach comes, then we're still bound to time, and we want to make the best out of the situation. We're just going to wish you a beautiful rest of the week, a restful week, and a very, how do you say it? Utilize the week to the fullest. Take the time to the next level.